Arman Tsarukyan's performance against Dan Hooker is the type of performance that sends champions running for the hills. I mean, Ilia Topuria don't want nothing to do with that. I'm kidding. Honestly, Ilia Topuria's probably not scared of anybody, but man, if Arman Tsarukyan is not his hardest fight, I don't know who is. It's not Patty the Fatty Pimblett. It's not Justin Gaethje. It's Arman Tsarukyan. He's a true #1 contender, and just because the UFC's blackballing doesn't mean he doesn't deserve the shot. Give it to Arman Tsarukyan. Give it to him because he deserves it more than anybody in the world. I mean, did you watch him just systematically just break Dan Hooker? I mean, he went in there and just did whatever he wanted to do. I mean, we know Dan Hooker. He's, super long, and Arman Tsarukyan's not huge for the weight class. He's shredded for the weight class. He packs a punch, sure. But man, oh man, did he just do whatever he wanted to. The longer, lankier opponent. Before we get into this episode, in the description, I've got Discord, Substack, all that stuff so you can get it right to your inbox, or you can chat, and like and subscribe. It helps the channel. I mean, it started off, I'm like, okay, Dan Hooker, it would be insanely funny. I'm watching him get pieced up by Arman on the feet. Like, it'd be insanely funny to watch him pull this off in some sort of Hail Mary, and then he goes out there and has to fight Ilia Topuria next. Like, how bad would that fight have been? So kind of thank God that Dan Hooker didn't Dan Hooker this fight, because I have no interest in Dan Hooker versus Ilia Topuria at all. If I ever had that. I've never even thought about that fight until this fight. Arman Tsarukyan, though, it's incredibly interesting against a guy like Topuria. Now, I will say, he was hit a lot against Dan Hooker, and I think that's more an attribute to what Dan Hooker is as a fighter and what problems he presents as a longer fighter, where Arman Tsarukyan had problems. We're going to put had problems in quotes because his problems were like, oh, I'm just getting kicked in the gut a little bit with these push kicks. It's not something Ilia Topuria is going to do. Topuria doesn't really kick above the leg. So it really brings this interesting dynamic to a fight against them. Arman Tsarukyan's really good on the feet. He used to be just coming in as a grappler, but his hands have gotten very, very good in the last 3-4 years. They're not Ilia Topuria good, though. That's something we can say. And everybody wants to see Ilia Topuria versus a wrestler, not Bryce Mitchell. They want to see him versus an actual wrestler. We didn't get to see Movsar Evloev because he left featherweight. Arman Tsarukyan is the next one. Obviously, he's vying for the Islam Makhachev fight, and I get that. I understand why, because Islam Makhachev is the #1 fighter. It's one of the top pound-for-pound guys, the #1 pound-for-pound guy according to MMA Fighting. But if you look at this fight with Arman Tsarukyan, for both Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev, aside from each other, Arman Tsarukyan's their toughest opponent. Now, I mentioned the problems that Dan Hooker gave Tsarukyan, and there were problems, sure, but that's not the problems Ilia Topuria is going to bring to the table for Arman. Ilia Topuria is not taller than Arman Tsarukyan, at least not like Dan Hooker is. He might be an inch taller, or he's coming for featherweight, might be shorter. He's not going to kick to the face and to the body. He's good wrestling, but I don't think he's a better wrestler than Arman Tsarukyan. The type of fight that Ilia Topuria brings to Arman Tsarukyan is the one that you've always wanted him to see, aside from Islam Makhachev, I guess. We've always wanted to see him face a Max Holloway or I'd say Islam, but we're not getting that, I want to see him fight a boxer, a Justin Gaethje, somebody with heavy hands. What happens? Do you know? I don't. Because you look at the fights, actually, come on with me. Let's go over to the web real quick here. The King was back this weekend. Horiguchi, that was sick. We'll be talking about that later. But you go and look at who he's fought, honestly, you can coming up. And it's been some good fighters, but his kind of inactivities killed him, So we'll say Joe Alvarez turned out to be a really good win, but allergic to takedowns. Gamrot, a lot of people thought he won. Ismagulov, garbage. Joaquim Silva, Benil Dariush, not a striker. Charles Oliveira, he's a striker-ish, but his striking's a lot of Charles Oliveira's striking is predicated on his submission threat. So, he hasn't fought since UFC 300. That's wild, bro. So yeah, his takedown game is good, but let's be real with ourselves. This Dan Hooker fight is a tune-up fight for Arman Tsarukyan. Like, he's back, come out, get a statement that is important, and make a statement. And that's what he did against Dan Hooker. What he was out meant to do, and that is exactly what he did. He made a statement. Was it good enough, to have Ilia Topuria say, okay, fine, you were the anointed one, because everybody knows Ilia Topuria is the number one fight right now. You are the anointed one. Not necessarily. Like, he said, in his post-fight speech, he said, Ilia, come in here, and like Topuria didn't even come into the ring. So it's kind of like, oh man, he kind of big brothered him, even though Ilia Topuria's a featherweight, but he big brothered him. So you're looking at that and you're like, man, this is the guy, but I don't know if Topuria wants to fight him. And I did mention, like, it's going to some champions running, and I don't actually believe Ilia Topuria is scared of Arman Tsarukyan. No, I think Ilia Topuria is going to fight like a Justin Gaethje next. I don't think Patty is next. No, I think they'll give Patty someone else in the top 15, and have him, match made up to where this fight is finally brewing, it's finally done. They're kind of trying to fabricate the Khabib versus Conor McGregor thing in layman's terms, really, but it's really not that. So the things I kind of like from Tsarukyan, though, Dan Hooker, we know he's a good, decent submission threat, and Arman kind of shot straight into some guillotines, okay? And Dan Hooker's like, oh, good, get to use my hangman nickname. So he tried to sink the guillotine in. Arman gator rolled. Really cool. So he gator rolled and got into full garden out of the guillotine. So that was really cool grappling from Arman Tsarukyan. But like I think the number one thing from this fight was like his ground and pound. Because like Arman beat the brakes off of him on the ground. Like bad. Like really, really bad. He really did like come over the top with some elbows. And if you want to watch like great ground and pounders in MMA today, it's Arman Tsarukyan for sure. He's one of the best. Not Islam, not Khamzat Chimaev. It's Arman Tsarukyan. Pantoja does decent damage on the ground, but he's mainly looking to take you back. You look at Volkanovski, he's generally a good ground and pounder, but by and large, there's not many. The John Joneses are gone for now, but you watch this and you're like, man, he is really beating him up. And it didn't matter if it was from half guard or from full guard or wherever. It really was like Arman Tsarukyan just finding damage where he could find damage, And in an era where they're kind of trying to transition away from position wins you minutes, which wins you rounds, it's Arman Tsarukyan's type of fight that you want to watch and be like, okay, this is how you're supposed to fight. This is how they want the sport to look. Because, like it or not, the UFC is trying to create content for this content-driven world, and their content is fights. So if they don't have highlight clips that they can post on social media and promo packages, it's out the board. So yeah, they have a interest in controlling how the fight goes. They have an interest in controlling what MMA fights look like, and they have the number one controlling interest in that. So to see Arman Tsarukyan come out there and lay on the ground and pound, it was really refreshing, especially after the whole Islam fight with JDM, which didn't have that much damage, even though it was exciting. The Khamzat DDP fight, what was that? Gelton Almeida. Good gosh, talk about terrible Gelton Almeida. So it was good to see him come out and do that. Now, as far as him fighting Ilia Topuria, yeah, that's a hard one to call, man. Arman's his toughest challenge to date, for sure. Arman is a very, very hard fight for Topuria. Ilia Topuria is a very, very good fighter, though, and he's a very, very smart fighter. We're going to be talking about Ian Gary, smart fighters. Believe it or not, I think Ian Gary is a smart fighter. We'll get into that in a second here. But you look at like Ian Gary, you look at Ilia Topuria, and he comes with a great game plan. Arman Tsarukyan doesn't strike me as the type of guy to come with a great game plan. He's fine getting stuck in guillotines and other submissions. Look at him against Charles Oliveira, where he almost lost. That's basically what lost him against Mateusz Gamrot. Dan Hooker got him in a guillotine twice. So if he's doing that, there's no reason to believe Islam would not have run through him, probably. And I'm saying that now with rose-tinted glasses, because hindsight's 2020. I know Islam's top 5 of all time now. But for Ilia Topuria, who's coming up, we've seen Arman Tsarukyan give Islam a hard time on 2 weeks' notice, and both of them are better and higher stake fighters now, but still, we've seen it. So with Topuria coming up, it becomes a can Arman get him to the ground? How good is Ilia Topuria's wrestling, which I have a hunch is very good. It's an interesting stylistic fight, because if Arman can push him against the fence and chew up clock and get a takedown off the fence and start to really kind of damage him there, because like I said, Arman Tsarukyan is really good at damaging on the ground. Like, Topuria can have a bad night. But that said, Arman puts himself in bad spots. His footwork is okay, but like, it's not saying it's better than Topuria's. Do you think his footwork's better than like freaking Max Holloway's? No, absolutely not. So you mean to tell me that you don't think Ilia can find that shot against Arman Tsarukyan? I do. It's a 50-50 fight. There's absolutely no way of predicting it, which makes it one of the more interesting fights, because it's like, how does this play out? We don't know. It could be boring, could be exciting, could be a submission, could be a knockout. There's so many options. Now, I used to think, during this fight, maybe Ian Garry would be an interesting and unique challenge for Islam Makhachev. After watching that fight, I'm not so sure. Belal Muhammad couldn't take down Ian Machado-Garry. He said it right. Belal couldn't take me down. Islam, you try. That's like exactly what Ian Garry said. But like, did we not watch Jack Della Maddalena? And I know Ian Garry did, because Belal Muhammad couldn't take Belal Muhammad couldn't take Jack Della Maddalena down. Islam could. That's a false equivalency, guys. Completely different wrestlers. And Ian Machado-Garry, I know he's trying to cut a promo for this fight. He is so obnoxious and so annoying as such a good and talented fighter. Like, it's crazy how good Ian Machado-Garry is. He's exactly what everybody thought Conor McGregor was. And Conor McGregor was pretty darn good, as it turns out. But Ian Garry just drops the ball when it comes to this types of call-outs. Like, oh yeah, I would take him down. Like, no, shut up. It's not how this works, bro. He beat Belal Muhammad via unanimous decision. And you look at these two guys' records and you're like, oh yeah, decision makes absolute sense. Belal Muhammad's very durable. Ian Garry's not very finishing-y. And Belal Muhammad doesn't finish anybody either. He hasn't finished anybody in 7 years. And it's still been 7 years he hasn't finished anybody. Because somebody said something lead up. Oh, Belal hasn't gotten a finish in 7 years, but I think tonight's the night. Nope, it's still 7 years. Going on 8. But Ian Machado-Garry's approach was very, very good. He did have a great approach for Belal Muhammad. It was clear that he watched the Jack Della Maddalena tape over and over again, because he's doing a lot of the same things that Jack Della Maddalena did. Exiting at an angle, really fighting 2-on-1 hands when he's pushed against the fence, 1-2s and being long. And he added some things to Jack Della Maddalena's game plan that really worked in his favor and really worked early. Specifically, the low kick. Oh, the low kick just ate up Belal Muhammad. I mean, it was like, check a kick, dude. But like, Ian Garry's such a good fighter. His hips are back so far. And he's getting to pump that oblique kick right in. And he's getting extra damage on it. He's just tearing up Belal. Like, Belal was limping after the first 5 low kicks, and Garry kind of abandoned him in the middle there. He could have probably finished him with low kicks, but who wants to do that? Well, Ian Garry should want to do that because he doesn't finish nobody. I digress, though. That stabbing knee that stabbing kick to the knee was just chef's kiss. I mean, just beautiful. Great adjustment, and that is a trick that I think would work well against Islam. Islam could backfire. Islam could catch it. And it's an interesting fight. I don't think he beats Islam Makhachev though. Belal really didn't have anything for him. He really didn't have anything for Ian Machado-Garry. And it's very apparent Belal's age is catching up to him. He has decent boxing, but he can't adjust to what somebody's doing. Like if somebody exits at an angle, that's a wrap for Belal Muhammad. And I wasn't the biggest Belal Muhammad fan when he was champion. I'll be honest with you guys. You can go back and watch my videos and you can see I didn't have much respect for Belal Muhammad as a champion. And he's a good person, and there's no harm to him being champion, but I just didn't think he was representative of a welterweight division that had a Leon Edwards, who everybody thinks sucks now, had a Kamaru Usman, George St. Pierre, Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley, even though he had some boring fights. I didn't think Belal Muhammad was representative of that. I thought Jack Della was, and, well, he turns out he wasn't. Turns out Islam might be the one. You know? Ian Machado-Garry shows those signs of, like, hey, I can be a champion. Just so happens he's in the worst time to even try with Islam Makhachev, the GOAT, probably the GOAT when it's all said and done. You guys are going to, like, flame me for that, but, like, Islam Makhachev might be the GOAT. And we talked about it in his episode, so I'm not going to go back into that. The 1-2 and all that against the fence, not the 1-2 against the 2-on-1 hands against the fence. That's again where he's trying to prevent Belal Muhammad when he's getting pushed to the fence, locking his hands. He goes 2 hands on 1. 2 hands are strong on 1, so pull him away. All great work, all JDM work. Things I would half expected him to do the Horiguchi or whatever you call it. I don't know Japanese games, guys. Leave me alone. I think Islam Makhachev probably mauls Ian Machado-Garry, just like he does everybody else. I don't think there's a challenge to him. Michael Morales is a decent challenge just because of his size, but then, like, he's so unknowable. It's like, okay, so what's he gonna do? You know, like, what happens if he gets the 3rd, 4th, 5th round? Like, he might touch Islam, sure, but what does that do? You know, nothing, probably, if we're being honest. Yeah, but that's neither here nor there. Like, you can't just be like, oh, well, he beats, like, Jack Slack, his podcast, he talks about this today, and I do want to bring it up. Like, everybody's like, oh, no, Islam would destroy Ian Garry. I don't want to see that fight. He would destroy Michael Morales. He would destroy Prates, Sean Brady. It doesn't matter who, you know. It's always Islam destroys. And I get he's dominant. But, like, there comes a point in time to where the champion that's dominant gets Chris Weidman. You know? Henry Cejudo comes along and defeats Demetrius Johnson. Sends him packing. Eventually, I won't say always, you know, because there's the GSPs. And even then, like, Johnny Hendricks came, and a lot of people thought he beat GSP, but Habib and John Jones, like, they don't lose. But until they decide to hang them up and say, hey, I've officially not lost as a champion, you got to give them fights. You can't just sit here and be like, no, there's not a perfect guy for him to fight, so I don't want to see it. You know, I only want to see Ilia. Like, it's unrealistic, dude. Unrealistic. I want to see him fight the number 1 contender at welterweight, be it Michael Morales or Ian Machado-Garry. That's my 2 biggest options. You can put Shavkat Rakhmonov, and that's an interesting fight in itself, but, like, you have to put somebody in there. So who's it going to be? And I have a feeling whoever, like, I think it's between 3 people. I think it's between Shavkat, Ian Garry, and Michael Morales right now. And I think whoever gets between between Ian Garry and Michael Morales, you put Shavkat against the other one. Think about, like, Shavkat taking Michael Morales into deep rounds while Ian Garry fights Islam on the main card. Or you rematch 5 rounds, Shavkat Rakhmonov and Ian Garry. Like, because remember, that fight was short notice, and Ian Garry looked good, took him down, and almost choked him out. So there's options. There's a lot of options for Ian Machado-Garry. Elsewhere on this card, Volkan and Oezdemir mauled Alonzo Menifield, and if you thought Menifield was going to win, you're on drugs, because that's simply just a bad fighter. You know, he has heavy hands, and that's his claim to fame. Really, really nice. He threw up a knee, and then comes with a hook on the same side, so I would say a cool finish. Miktabek Orolbai beat Jack Hermanson. Not much to say about this. Orolbai's very good. It was his first fight at 170, coming up from 55. And Hermanson came down from 85. I did not realize this was an 85 fight, or 170 fight. And Jack Hermanson was just deflated. I don't think this was Orolbai being great. I think this was more or less Jack Hermanson depleting himself from 185, another 15 pounds. Waldo Cortez Acosta defeated his opponent in Shamil Gaziev on short notice. He had a day or 2 of training, comes in, knocks him out, shows up with the eye patch, making fun of Ante Delaya and Tom Aspinall, you know, that whole situation. Then he gives Michael Bisping a patch, puts it on the right eye, perfect. And you know, we got Pirates now, so that was pretty cool. But my favorite part of the night, the king is back, baby. Kyoji Horiguchi destroyed Tagir Ulanbekov, rear naked choke in the 3rd round after just styling on the Dagestani until he couldn't take it anymore. There was a point in the fight where he got up and he was just breathing out. You know, Tagir was breathing out. like this sucks. And it did, because Kyoji Horiguchi, 35 years old, still very good. Still insanely good. And it's so exciting to have him back. All of the like hipster MMA fans love Kyoji Horiguchi. I guess I'm a hipster MMA fan because I also love Kyoji Horiguchi. Maybe it's one of those Venn diagrams where they kind of barely cross over, something like that, you know? Yeah, but Kyoji's back, baby. And, you know, despite being 35-year-old as a flyweight, he's still fast as ever. And you love to see it because, like, he's just one of those fighters where it's like, man, you really like having somebody like him around. It's kind of where the UFC's been missing the boat, keeping these, like, vets that are good and they can bring excitement to a fight, and they're cutting them and letting them go to PFL. And it's like, man, this guy has a good highlight package. What you not keeping him for, you know? Kyoji Horiguchi, if you don't know, because it's been 9 years since he's been in the UFC, really great karate fighter. Yeah, he has a really wide and long stance. Fought Demetrius Johnson. Gave Demetrius Johnson the latest finish in UFC history at 4:59 in round 5. Demetrius Johnson like ran through him, if I remember that fight correctly. It's been a long time since I saw that. But he left and went to Ryzen, had some really fun fights in Ryzen, a kickboxing match with Tenshin Nasukawa, beat Manel Kopp, really just kind of made a name for himself at bantamweight. Kai Asakura was another one that he beat, and really kind of, you know, just enjoyed his time. And fighting in Japan kind of got old because he does live in the United States, so it was nice to see him come back, you know. Tagir Ulanbekov ranked 11. Perfect opponent for Kyoji Horiguchi. Yeah, he just kind of a stick in the mud and kind of just standing there with flat footwork. That's the exact kind of opponent that a guy like Kyoji Horiguchi is gonna feast upon. I mean, and he feasted. He just freaking, like, on Thanksgiving this week, and he came out and he gobbled some turkey up, baby. Just a stick in the mud. His takedown defense was good. He's great on the ground and pound. We talked about that with Arman Tsarukyan. Kyoji has a great ground and pound too. There's moments where he could have got grounded knees, which are legal in Ryzen, and I don't know if he thought about it, but I know, like, watching them, like, oh, it would have been sick, it would have been perfect. He called out for Pantoja, the two are teammates, but he said he doesn't care, he wants to fight him. I love that too. I do. I think Kyoji Horiguchi and Pantoja is a fun fight. Give him one more fight, actually. Let's go see what's on the web. Let's see. Who's ranked here? All right, at flyweight, who do you give him? Amir Albazi. Give him top 5. Amir Albazi. You got Tatsuro Taira in there. Manel Kopp, you can run back. Yeah, Kai Kara France is gone. So you got Tagir Ulanbekov right here at number 11. You could likely see Kyoji Horiguchi jump him. Probably jump Steve Erceg too, so he'll be a top 10 fighter. And then you've got all these guys. Alex Perez lost, so he'll probably drop down. But who did he lose to? I don't remember. He fought on this card, and he just looked, you know, good until he didn't. Which is, Asu Almabayev. So Almabayev will jump Perez, and Perez probably will drop 1 or 2 spots. Yeah, I still see Kyoji probably top 10. He'll jump Steve Erceg, maybe. Yeah, so interesting night. Nicholas Dalby defeated, as a guy, I'm not saying that name. Luke Riley beat Bogdan Grad. Luke Riley's a really, really people are big on him, so someone to keep an eye out for. Asu Almabayev, who did he lose to? He lost recently. I don't remember who, to Manel Kopp. That's what it was. He didn't stand a chance against Kopp, but he was supposed to fight Timarov, and then Jose Ochoa came in short notice. Now it's the second fight in a row. Alex Perez is a good win. Perez is a good fighter, and he kind of just drops the ball. I'm not saying that name. Versus Quisiera, rear naked choke. Alessandro Pantoja beat Bezcat Almacan. Alessandro Pantoja is good too, man. That's somebody to keep an eye on. Ryan Loder lost again. Wrestler Ryan Loder. Hopes for him coming in, but that's Bakoyev and now this other guy. So, you know, sad to see him. He'll probably be cut soon. And then Denzel Freeman got a win in his opening the card. Denzel Freeman is a decent prospect now. He's coming in off of LFA, so it's going to be interesting time to watch, you know, him come and grow. Good night of fights. We'll be off this week. No fights this weekend, but this was a fun night, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time watching this because of lots of finishes, you know, because they're in the Middle East and not at the Apex, so they don't have to, you know, they have to actually try. So good on them for trying. Congratulations. Yeah, give me Arman Tsarukyan and Ilia Topuria. That's the fight to make. Quit beating around the bush. Let's get it done. Fight Finders. I'm trying to get out to past Christian to see where John L. Sullivan captured the title. So catch up on the series. This is a deep dive episode that's coming out. It's going to take a while to finish, but it's going to be fantastic. So look right here. Boom. Fight Finders. The whole playlist is right here. 1 through 8. You can catch up on. Subscribe. This side. Boom.